Hey, hello, welcome. Today I'm back with another video and we're gonna talk about what I would start my collection off with. If I were to start all over again right now, what games would I buy to put in my collection? It's been 2 years since I dived face first into the wonderful world of board gaming. We've bought some very questionable games in the very beginning of our collection, and yeah, there are things that I would definitely do differently. Obviously, I'm gonna pick from the games that I already own because, well, I kind of need an opinion about the games that I'm gonna be talking about right now, because I could honestly name any 10 games that I would start my collection off with, but then I would maybe run into the same issues that I had when I first started. For instance, in the very beginning, we bought Mistfall, which was a really big game, and it kinda intimidated us in the beginning, and we ended up still not playing it to this day. So I went ahead and selected 10 games from my collection right here behind me, obviously, that I would consider a good base for a collection of starting players, that is. So let's just get into it. So the very first one, it's a classic, obviously. I would go for Azul. So as you can see, I have 3 of the Azuls right now. The fourth one, the Queen's Garden, is on its way, but we have the regular one, Summer Pavilion. I would obviously opt for the base game, but if you want something else than a base game, I prefer Summer Pavilion above Sintra. They're all quite different but similar, but I just feel like Summer Pavilion just plays a little bit better than Sintra. Second one on my list is a deck builder, because I do feel like a deck building game is a great game for beginner players, and there's so many good beginning deck builders, but I have selected The Quest for El Dorado. This is such an easy game. It's playable with 2 to 4, I think. In this game, you don't have to build up certain powers or certain things. The only thing you need to do in this game is buy cards that make you progress along the map. All the cards that you can buy make sure that you can walk over certain terrain, and I feel like it's a very good deck builder just because you only need to focus on that one aspect, that moving along. It's very easy, it's very simple, and it's a perfect gateway into bigger deck builders and opens up a whole new world. I am particularly a big fan of deck builders. I think it's just a mechanic, a type of game that anyone can play. What I feel shouldn't be missing in a beginning board game collection is a good engine builder. Now, there's a lot of people that are very picky about what they call an engine building game and whatnot. You can call the one that I'm going to talk about also a set collection type of mechanic, but I feel for me it's an engine building game. I picked Splendor just because it's actually quite easy to teach. You have the cards, you have the gems, you either pick gems, buy a card, or reserve a card, which also gives you a joker, a gold gem. The person that gets to 15 points first is the winner. But this is just an easy game. It doesn't have a lot of components, like for instance Wingspan. You have the cards, then you have the food, then you have the action cubes, then you have the eggs that you need to place. I feel like Splendor, well, it's kind of like Wingspan. It's also an engine building game, but Splendor has less things to worry about, less things to check. You don't have to roll any dice, you just grab the tokens, which grants you access to buying cards, and with the cards you have, you can then buy more cards, and that's just the essence of the game. And it doesn't come in a giant box or with so much components, so overall I think it's a good starter engine building. For the next game, I'm going with a classic again. I'm going with Ticket to Ride London. Fun fact, was the very first game that we played in a board game cafe, and I'm talking about the board game cafe that we went to just randomly, which caused me like a week or two later to start posting pictures on Instagram, discovering a whole world of board games on Instagram, and just rolling into what's happening now. So this one is pretty much the one that started it all. I do have Ticket to Ride Europe. Well, there's so much Ticket to Rides, but I would advise for a starter collection to pick one of the smaller ones. I find this one really good. Obviously I have a history with it, which is also making my opinion not so objective about this one. It's just a smaller map, I feel, is the best way to go. You can later on always try different ones or other ones. Ticket to Ride is not that hard. It's just making your own voyage from point A to point B, not crossing any other, like cutting off any other players. Well, you can, but it's mean and I rather don't play like that. Well, it's just who gets from point A to point B the fastest. If you get there, you can grab another card, get more points. The next one is a bit bigger. It has a little bit more rules, but I am talking about one that is sitting right here, Quacks of Cuddlingburg. This is quite a big box with a lot of components in it, but in essence, you're a doctor, you're a quack, and you're trying to make all these remedies to help people. You try and make all of those things in your kettle, but you have to watch out, because if you have too much white tokens in your kettle, it blows up. During the game, you can add tokens in your personal bag, which you draw from to put on your kettle. The more tokens you have, the lesser chance you have of pulling a white one, but you're never 100% sure. To start off with it, it seems like a big game, it seems like a lot, but once you're in it, it's really easy. It's just like deck building, but a bag builder, which you buy tokens or get tokens to put in your bag and then you use those. It's like a deck. It's exactly the same, but very different. I feel like I have not met a person yet that didn't like Quacks of Cuddlingburg, so I feel, in my opinion, it's just a great game to have in your collection. But I feel like it's a really fun game. It adds a little bit strategy with luck and the inside of trying to figure out which token to buy, which token works best with the other tokens you already have, so you can personalize your bag. A next game I chose is Fuji. This seems like a big box, it's actually not. So you build your map with cards, the cards are laid out on the table, the volcano erupts and the players try to run away from the lava, which turns most of the cards, most of the map, not viable to walk on anymore, so the map gets smaller and smaller and the players just need to escape the volcano. This is a co-op game. I have quite a few co-op games, but I feel like this one is a really fun one. First of all, it has beautiful designed cards. The fun thing about this is that there's actually dice in here and you roll the dice, but you roll them behind the screen so other people don't really see what you're rolling. As a team, you need to find the best way to get out of the village before the whole map disappears and turns into lava. So it's like an all versus time, all versus the map kind of situation. It can get a little bit very exciting sometimes. The next one is an ultimate classic that I feel should be in any collection. It is a tile placement game. You probably already know which one I'm talking about. It's Carcassonne. There's so many Carcassonne games. I currently have the 20th anniversary edition, and I recently also have the Gatherers and Hunters. The Hunters and Gatherers. We haven't played this one yet. I'm so excited about this one. But there's so many different ones that you can pick from. There's so many expansions. It's a game that can really grow in your collection. You can decide to play with all of them. You can decide to play with one of them. There's maps you can play on, and just in essence also it's a very easy game. You place tiles, you place your workers, you can make it as mean or as nicely played as you want. It's just a very versatile game while being a very simple game. If you played this one, there's also a lot of games that have connections with Carcassonne that have the Carcassonne vibes. Like for instance, Botanic is a game for 2 players. It's like a steampunk Carcassonne. I always say that just because for me it really is, and people laugh with that. But yeah, such a versatile game. There's so many directions you can go with this game, so it's like this whole world of Carcassonne that you can build up in your collection. There's big boxes, there's separate expansions. You can really just personalize that collection to your liking, which also I find something really interesting if you're just starting out, and you can really feel out what you like about this game and just build on it. Talking about different versions of a game, apparently I'm a big fan of games that have different versions, because the next one I would recommend, or the next one I would get in my starting collection, is Similo. I currently have the 3 that are available from 999 Games, because 999 Games is the one that makes Similo. Around these parts where I live, I have fairy tales, history, and animals. I would love to have more of these because they come in such a small box and you only use one deck. There's only one deck of cards, but you use it for 2 things. You use it to make a grid where you need to guess the certain character out of, and then the rest of the cards that don't get used, you use to give hints to the other players so they can guess the character that they need to guess. It's a very small game. All you need is a surface, a table to play on, and that's it. So small games are really important in a starting collection also, because what are you gonna play when you're going somewhere? This is a great filler game also if you want to like have a game night and you want to have a warmer up, or not all the players are there yet. Games like these are so good to get you in the mood, or play as a little in-between game in between 2 bigger games to like ease the tension a bit. So filler games are so important, and I would definitely recommend Similo. I think this one is my favorite. Okay, next, staying with the smaller games, I chose The Mind. The Mind is a really cool party game. It uses only a deck of cards. The deck of cards is numbered. There's a few cards in here that have lives or like help on the cards. But the essence of this game is you're in a group, everybody has cards, you're trying to get to the highest level. Everybody places their cards down in the correct order. The numbers have to be placed in an ascending order, so the numbers on the cards, like for instance if I have 1 and 50, I know when the game starts I need to place down my 1 as fast as I can. The big thing about this game is you cannot communicate with the other players, so it's all just mind games. So that is why it's called The Mind, obviously. Great joke. You can play this with 2 to 4 players, which is usually what starting players play with. There's not usually bigger groups. Thing that comes in later a little bit. It's just a very peculiar game. There's also The Mind Extreme, which works with white numbers and red numbers, which have to be placed in ascending order and descending order. And they're sometimes placed blindly too. So if you want The Mind but just spice it up a little bit, I'd go for The Mind Extreme. And last but not least is still a small box. I chose Cluster. This is a very abstract game. Only thing the game has is a cord and magnets. Players divide the magnets between them, and each player places down 1 magnet in their turn. You go around the table. Whenever magnets are drawn to each other, they snap on each other, and the player that caused that to happen needs to grab the magnets that were drawn to each other, so that player is left with more magnets. You keep doing this until a player runs out of magnets. You don't even need to keep the game in this box. There's a handy dandy baggie in here where the magnets are in, and you can also put the cord in there, and you can just carry it around like this. So those were my 10 games that if I would start over right now, I would have in my collection and I would start to build off of. Is there any other games that you would put in your collection if you would just start over? Or is there any games that you don't know yet from these games that you want to try? Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, I have a lot more board game related things or geeky related things on my channel, so go check it out. I want to thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!